Hello, as we are approaching the end of Korra, I decided that I'm going to do a video on Season 3 of Korra, since I have not done one when I wanted to, sadly. But I'm going to talk about the third season and really my thoughts of it. So, here we go. Season 3 was the season that really made me like Korra as a show a lot more than season one, and to me it topped season one in many ways, um, because it got to the point where I would tell people, yes, season three is my definition of why I like The Legend of Korra way more than The Last Airbender, and it's really because I really like the villains of season three a lot, and not to get into season four, I do like Kuvira as a villain way more, but that's another video. But I really like the Korra villains in season three, like Zahir, Minghua, Gazan, and Pili. I think they were really interesting villains that really had good chemistry amongst each other. They had very good, strong camaraderie. So I really enjoyed the moments that they had with each other. I still don't know how I feel about having the Air Nation come back. I really feel that that's a non-winning situation, because I feel like no matter how many times they can describe it, because the only description that they kind of give, the explanation is of harmonic convergence, but that's still not really, you still don't know how that really worked and why it chose the people that they chose. I still don't know how I feel about that. I mean, ultimately, I think it's fine. It's not like, oh, well, I'm not, it's awful, but it's just like, it's borderline Goofy Town. And I don't know how I feel about Boomy being an airbender, because I feel that that character was really strong being a non-bender, and made him very interesting. Being amongst the children of Aang and Katara, for him to be a non-bender, I thought was really an interesting dynamic. And just having him be an airbender isn't really bad. It's not like, he shouldn't have been an airbender, or that it ruins that character. And I think that there's people who think that, but I just don't know how I feel about it, because I like it and I don't like it at the same time. Because I kind of like it because it kind of feels like a way for Boomy and Tenzin to bond some more, and I really kind of like their dynamic a lot. So I guess it's cool, but it's weird. It's ultimately weird, but yeah, it wasn't a major detraction from the entire season. If anything, I actually liked it because it meant that we get to see more Boomy, so that's always a plus. I really liked that the villains were not really black and white, and they were really interesting villains. I mean, they really brought really interesting ideas to the series, like, kind of saying that the White Lotus got more corrupted over the years, and they just became glorified bodyguards. I thought was a really interesting reveal, because in The Last Airbender, and kind of in Book 1 of Korra, they really made the White Lotus seem like, oh, these are really good people, and they're not corruptible, and all that stuff. And then, in season 3, you hear that, they really did become corrupted almost. I mean, they almost became borderline as bad as the Dai Li almost. I mean, that's how Zahir made it sound. And I really like that the rift that created the Red Lotus. I really thought that was a really interesting take. And, it's kind of funny at the same time when you look at season 2. A lot of people I talked to said that, oh, Vatu and Rava was such an obvious kind of opposites, the evil and good and all that stuff, light and dark and all that. I mean, despite that's the whole theme of spirit and all that. This kind of has the same thing, but it takes it in such a really interesting way, where part of you is kind of rooting for the Red Lotus, and part of you is like really scared of the Red Lotus. And speaking of being scared, of the Red Lotus, I really liked Long Live the Earth Queen. That was a really powerful episode, because that really was when you really knew that these villains meant business, that these people weren't just blowing smoke, and they actually meant every word that they were saying about destroying the leadership and all that. And I really thought that was interesting, and the way that they killed the Earth Queen was really, my opinion is getting a little weaker, because I used to think it was really brutal when it happened, but the more I think about it, it's not really that brutal. I mean, it's not exactly, a cakewalk either. It's not like, a beautiful scene, but it's weird because, it's because I think the way that they showed it was kind of jarring at first because they really zoomed in on her face. I mean, they showed her eyes turn red, and that to me was kind of like, I don't know how this got greenlit. I mean, I think it would have been. I think the way that she died was, okay for TV and all that. I think that wasn't the problem I had, but that they lingered on shots. They zoomed in on her eyes. I mean, the only way that I figured they got away with it was that as soon as she died, the camera panned up so that you're not really seeing a corpse at all. Because when the whole thing is going on, she's still alive. So I think in TV land, I mean, a lot of networks have weird rules, but I think it's okay to imply death as long as you don't see a corpse. I mean, as long as you don't see a living person turn into a corpse on scene, I think it's okay and it gets away with it. But and as long as you don't really say like definitive terms, uh, and I mean, I remember a lot of people saying like, "Oh, she's still alive." I mean, they didn't say that she's dead, and it's like, well, they can't really use those words, and it was really obvious that she's dead. I mean, how many people survived from that kind of circumstance? I mean, well, anyways, it was a really interesting scene, and it was really well done. It really kind of, made them more threatening, and they kind of led them to be more aligned negatively. And a lot of people, keep saying that, oh, well, these people aren't really bad. These people are good guys, and they just wanted freedom, and it's. And I quote, a lot of book four stuff about this, but ultimately, when you think about it, yeah, that's what you want: freedom. You want to have the ability to be free, but when you think about it, how much freedom do we really need? Because, and this is really what that season kind of brings up. I'm not sure if it's that obvious. I mean, I think it was pretty obvious, but like, once you kill the queen and get rid of all order, what is to stop people from murdering each other? Like that's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, yeah, you want freedom, but do you really want to have other people have the freedom to kill you? Live in that kind of society where freedom isn't really, or where murder isn't really being organized and balanced and all this stuff, and you're gonna be living in chaos, um, and that's really interesting. I mean, it kind of shows the importance of order, and that's the thing that season 3 leads into season 4 so well that it's like the yin and the yang of season 3 and 4. But I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that in season 4. My least favorite episode in season 3, I will say, is Original Airbenders. That is like the one episode I wish got cut. Not that it was awful, but I just wish they did more stuff with Tenzin in it. I just felt that they kind of put him in the same kind of position as he was in book 1. Because I feel that he has been there before. Like I get that he's really into the Air Nation and all that, but like I just didn't think that Tenzin had to learn that same lesson that he learned with Korra back then about keeping his patience and all that. I mean, I guess it's a little different, but I just don't like shows that kind of go that far with him, where it's like he takes someone's uh recommendation and kind of take it too far. I just don't like that kind of episodes. I think they're very campy and kind of done in other kids shows. So I didn't really think that was really interesting to watch. But it was a filler episode in my opinion. It didn't really move the plot forward. It kind of gave the idea of it kind of foreshadowed Jinori getting her tattoos, I guess. But other than that, it was just whatever. But yeah, I really liked the third season. But I'm gonna talk. So now I'm gonna get to the end. I'm gonna talk about the last 2 episodes. I loved the last 2 episodes. Enter the Void, I thought was good. I didn't know how I felt about Aang flying. Not Aang. Zahir having the ability of flight. I thought that was kind of weird, but then I sat there and was like, well, it's not Unavatu weird, so I guess it's okay. It's a step forward. I mean, it's not Gonzo and weird and, goofy. I could at least take it somewhat seriously, unlike Unavatu at times. But yeah, I liked just that whole conversation that Korra had with Zahir in both of those episodes. Like I loved, when she woke up and she was chained and she was like, "You killed my father," and then she fire bitten out of her mouth. I thought, when I first heard that, I was just like, "Oh shit!" Like that sent chills down my spine. I loved that scene, and it led into the best finale I have seen on TV. I liked Breaking Bad's finale, but this kind of almost reached that level. Uh, because yeah, I love that they actually poisoned the main character, and I thought that was really cool, and it was a really, really dark finale. Like I was just like, oh shit. I mean, it led to a really cool fight scene, and that to me is worth anything. That fight scene, my jaw hits the floor every time I watch it. I mean, like to this day, when I watch it, I just get chills, and I'm just like, oh shit, oh shit. Like to me, I'm sitting here saying, how is Book 4 going to top this fight? How? I mean, this is such a high point of the show. Like, I can't imagine how insane the finale will be for Book 4. I just can't imagine. So I'm going with low expectations initially on the fourth season, but that's again another video. But I really like that fight scene in Book 3. It was really one of the best fight scenes I have seen in any single thing. Like best thing in animation, best thing, best fight scene. Because yeah, you felt the weight and you felt the intensity between these two characters. So that was really, really good, and the ending was so good. Just having, the last scene you see is this Korra crying, and I kind of like that, or just shedding a tear, I guess. I really like that because that had a lot of implied emotion and meaning. I mean, yeah, obviously you knew why she was tearing up, and or at least people could make theories about it. But it was really interesting to see seeing this character in a wheelchair, and it was a really interesting turn. Everyone kind of crapped on it, but I liked it. If I were to rate season 3, I would give it a 9 out of 10. There was really not a bad part of that season except for original Airbenders. I really liked it. And see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.